Morning, or no, it's not morning at all. It's evening. How's everyone's day going thus far? That good? Yep. Yep. Anyone have anything really exciting happen to them today? See if I'm able to move some of my slides without messing everything up. What do people want to bet? Work. I never know what to do in the few minutes before class because like not everyone is on, but I don't know if people want to chat or if they don't just want to be bothered for a couple minutes. I made a bunch of FCS little spinners last night. Kylie, how did those go? Poor Kylie. Kylie and Tiffany had club fest today. Lauren, you got one, but I've been trying to print them, and it was one of those things that everything was going wrong until the last minute. So like, I finally got things working, and like I woke up one time in the night to like clear off a bed and print some more. But like, I have 10 million of these that are like they're flubbed up on the back and things like that. And so I'm sitting here like, I just have globs that are coming off. So yeah, how'd Clubfest go? Did you get the keychains on and everything?
Yeah, but we forgot pliers. So the keychains we bought were the same as last year, and they had like the keyring, and then they had like the loops, and then like a piece of like metal that you had to like twist with pliers.
Yeah. Oh, you forgot pliers. Oh no.
Yeah, so we were able to make it work, but it was like we got there and we're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I did start trying to do them early. I don't know. I think I'm beginning to think it's just my cursed luck that like it's just gonna work out at the end for me.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you get a lot of people?
I was only there until 11:45. So I was there from 11 to 11:45. No, but Lauren was there most of the time, so maybe she
I was gonna say, yeah, there was a big rush kind of around like noon to 1. There were quite a few people that stopped by, but then it kind of slowed down again. But people seemed interested and some takers.
Well, that's good. Hopefully. Oh, Priscilla, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I say that aloud?
Yeah, go for it.
That's a big deal for me.
Yeah.
So Lauren, you took it. I can't remember. Kylie and Tiffany, I don't think you had it yet, but Priscilla wrote to me that said, I did my program of study on Monday and was able to get it done and all in one day thanks to Foundations of CTE. If that's really true, bless you, because that is the biggest success story of my life. That is all I've been trying to do in Foundations of CTE. Mm-hmm. The best part is like Perkin 5 came out the year that I got this job. So reporting all changed in that year, but you can't access the reporting if you're not a K through 12 teacher. And so like I went to these kickoffs and things like that, but I still was like, I don't understand what it does. So it's been a major like focus of this past 3 years to really just make the final assessment.
What?
Yeah, Kale came and presented to our group or whatever, and I'm like, I've already heard most of this stuff already.
Well, and that's why originally, so I attended one of his webinar, One Thing So Much One Time, like about 3 years ago, and I'm like, do you want to teach this to pre-service teachers?
And it was really nice. It made it very like not stressful, and
I was the only one who got done in the group by the end of the day. Everybody else had to come back the second day.
Well, but then I would still say that's a success. I mean, honest, I
Yeah.
just really like hearing that what I was doing helped you
It
out.
helped a lot. It helped a
Okay.
lot. So thank you.
Thanks. That actually, you have no idea how validating that is for me right now. So I appreciate that. Well, hello, everyone. How's everyone on a Wednesday night? I was asking because Foundations of CTE has to be in the evening as well. And they were asking what day I wanted it. And I'm like, I don't know, it has to be in the evening. And whatever day you pick will be wrong. That's all I know. Anyone working with adult learners knows that. Well, this is technically our second class, but we didn't really get the chance to do something the first time around in class that I really want to do. And so I will start by asking you, well, no, I will start by telling you the agenda because I actually made a nice deck for today. Sorry. Oh. You know, I have two screens and I always try to like learn how to manage them right so that I can flip seamlessly between Zoom, and I've just become aware that it is natural. It also probably takes much longer that I imagine that like everyone is waiting on me. It's kind of like one of those things when people are looking over your shoulder. But earlier today I sent out that I talked about that we were going to focus on AI this week. I have pulled back from that and instead shifted the focus to the formative assessment, and I will explain why in a little bit later. You didn't need to do anything to prepare for today. At the start of each week at the unit, that's up on me. You just come to class, it'll be okay. The only thing is before expert session, like I still want you to contribute to that dip your toe in discussion so that we have questions for the experts. But other than that, like first Wednesday of the unit is on me. My thing today is I want to do a getting to know each other activity. I mean, I know most of you, but you might have been with each other in different classes and you probably don't know all of each other. So that's what we're going to start out with today with. The second thing I'm going to go over is the shift in the course schedule, and I do have the overall points calculated. Then I'm going to cover planning for instruction, safety, classroom management, and assessment, which is the focus of this unit. And then I will just talk about the assignments looking forward and some of the things I learned from reviewing your assignments submitted thus far. So with that, my first thing that I'm going to ask you to do is tell me, I had a poll here. Oh. Great. I want to ask you, adjective, and that's all I'm going to give. Adjective, animal, or aura. Okay,
Wait, what?
well, I was trying to do a poll, and I've created the poll. But, oh, there, launch. All right. Do you see it now? Does everyone see it now? You get to choose adjective, animal, or aura. Okay, everyone, in 1 second, you're all gonna make your most weird, non-weird face, just because I'm gonna put it up in order. So that's the order we're gonna go in. So you have like 1 second to make a not weird face. And to make you feel better, I will make mine very odd. All right. Okay, so the choice was, my Zoom poll came back animal. So here's how we're gonna do it. I'm a very alliterative person. And so you're gonna introduce yourself and yourself with an alliterative animal. So my name is Laura and I'm Laura Lion. And then I'm going to share this so we know what order we go in. I guess it would be kind of a lion, because I don't know, I can tend to roar a little bit. So Laura Lion, and I tend to get a little rowdy when I'm angry, especially when I'm angry. And I feel that's very lion-like. Okay. No. Am I sharing the one with our awkward pictures or my other one? I can't hear anyone.
The one where I'm not looking at the screen. Just kidding.
The one where you're looking awkwardly at the screen, right? Yeah. Okay, so Missy, I'm gonna have you go first.
Okay, I am Melissa and I'm gonna go with Monarch
Oh, why are you Monarch?
because I've transitioned a lot over my career.
You know what? I
An
feel like
elementary teacher, high school teacher, middle school teacher. So
I was gonna say you have like 9 endorsements. I remember that.
I know.
Crazy. So Monarch, Melissa, do you prefer Missy or Melissa?
Whatever, it's fine. Either one.
Okay. All right, Kylie.
I'm Kylie. I think kangaroo, mainly because I'm more of like a mother figure for a lot of people and always prepared.
I love that. I was gonna go with bouncy, but like, yeah, yeah, you do take care of people. Lauren, who can't have lion because I took it.
Yeah, I'll do Lauren Llama.
Oh,
I don't really have a reason. I just really like llamas. I think they're fun and kind of wiggle.
and how about you're hopelessly trendy right now?
Yes, hopelessly trendy. That's me.
Everyone wants one. Tiffany.
Hi, I'm Tiffany, and I'll say a turtle. No real reason, but I don't know. Not that I'm late, but I like to push my time, so maybe that's why.
I like
And I
that
procrastinate.
phrasing.
I procrastinate. So
That's good phrasing. Yeah. Okay. I like it. Haley.
I'll go with Haley Hawk. Even though my last name is Hauk, a lot of people actually pronounce it Hawk. They go Haley Hawk, and I'm like, no, Haley Hauk. But and I'm gonna go with a hawk because I am a mom. I have 2 kids, and I have to watch them like a hawk all the time. And I feel like I am gonna piggyback off that other girl. I feel like in the building, I'm the one where a lot of people come to because they don't want to go ask the higher ups about stuff, and I will tell them how it is. So, and I'm watching over them. So
That's a good role. That's not a bad role to have. It's good to be that
Yep.
person.
yeah, I know.
Well, and it's good to have a person like that too. So 2 things. Steph.
I'm gonna go with I'm Steph Erpeling and sheep. Uh they're cuddly, they're warm, they're I guess like I just feel like I'm the inviting person, into the building and into my classroom um so that's what I chose.
I like that. I have to admit though, when you first said sheep, all I had, it was the scene in my head from How to Train Your Dragons when they're like tossing around the sheep.
Yeah, get that one out of your head.
It's fun. When they stop eating them, it's funny. They make it Anna, I don't know if you can go right now. If you can't, that's okay. I'm gonna give you a minute.
No, I can. Like my camera just doesn't work. So so I'm gonna go with Aardvark. Yeah, just because it's the first one that I can think of that starts with an A. I don't know anything about aardvarks. I would actually personally describe myself as more of a raccoon. So just a bit of a trash panda, nocturnal, kind of like, real squirrely,
Yeah,
which I guess would be a squirrel, but yeah.
I was gonna say aardvarks are the skinless raccoons. I'm not sure that's how.
I don't know. I
don't know
have
much
in my
about
head what I
aardvarks
think an
either.
aardvark looks like, but I'm actually not really secure in that knowledge, and I feel like I need to Google aardvarks now. So
Well, yeah. Luckily for me, we're not biologists. So, Andrea.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go with alligator because I couldn't think of anything else right away. And I like water and have a big bite.
Ooh, I love it. That's cool. That's good. Good job, Heidi.
I'm Heidi. I am going to go with hippopotamus, and mostly because I also I'm a mom and I'm super protective of my young, which that includes like my own kids and my kids as well. But then also I feel like everybody thinks hippos are just like really easygoing and like because they're super cute, at least I think so. But provoked, they are really aggressive, and I don't consider myself aggressive, but I definitely like stand my own ground if but
No, I love that. Because yes, hippos are like they have this appearance that they are very cute, but yeah, like don't mess with a hippo. Don't mess with hippos babies either. Like, Priscilla.
I'm gonna say I'm Priscilla Janice. I'm gonna say peacock
Ooh,
because I get told that I'm very loud and out there sometimes as a teacher and kind of just go against the grain. So
it's
that's a
okay
good
to
way.
be loud and out there. It's somebody's got to be interesting for the rest of the people, is how I see it most of the time. So just remember that when I'm being crazy. I'm doing you all an entertainment service. Amanda.
Hi, I'm Amanda. I'm gonna go with cheetah because cheetah print, leopard print's very trendy right now. Fierce, bold, maybe. I like cats too. They're top of the chain, so yeah.
Sounds good. Doreen.
Well, let's hear. The first thing I was kind of like Dalmatian because I couldn't think of much. I was like dinosaur. I was like, well, I am kind of old, but I'm going with Dalmatian because it seems cooler. Yeah, and I suppose at school, I'm always running around with an apron on. I kind of stand out. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's what I'll go with. All right.
I'll tell you, like I found it at a garage sale once upon a time, but the real story 101 Dalmatians is the most charming, like little old English book ever. It's kind of like 101, like Disney made it, but I've loved Dalmatians to this day, like the real original story of 101 Dalmatians. The interesting about that is it's Pongo and Mrs. Pongo, because that's what his wife is named, Mrs. Pongo, and Perdita is actually a second wet nurse Dalmatian. So, and it's part of the reason that they find 100 puppies too. But yeah, neither here nor there. Wendy.
Okay, so I missed the very first when you said what we're supposed to do, but I take it we're supposed to do an animal that starts with our first letter
Yes.
of our name.
You got it. Look at that.
All right, so and it has to apply to us somehow, represent
Yes,
us
people
somehow.
have been stretching, and that's okay. You're
Okay.
allowed to totally stretch.
So as I was thinking, I was coming up with walrus, wildebeest, and I don't know, not so many great W words, but I'll go with woodpecker because honestly, I feel like I'm banging my head against a tree a lot of times, but they have very hard heads and are accomplishing something with their work. So we'll go with that.
I like it. Marty, are you able to talk? If not, that's okay. I know you talked to me.
Okay, yeah, here I am. Sorry. Yeah, manatee. We'll go with Margie and manatee.
All right.
Just because I tend to be I tend to be behind everything.
Our manager's really bad. You have to have a positive reason. You can stretch it, but you have to have a positive thing.
Kind of slow moving. I feel like I'm always fast, but I tend to always be behind. So I'm like, I don't know. They're always slow moving in those oceans, and I feel like I'm always behind.
How about you do things in your own time and you're not
Sure.
going to be rushed around? Like the one, yeah, okay. So I think if you're my traditional students, you've heard this, but gosh, now I'm gonna forget the book. There's a personality test, and we're gonna talk about personality tests later and getting to know your students, but there's one that results in 5 things, strength finders. And when I read my things, like 3 of them for sure were the things that I hated about myself most. Like Haley, you were the one who said, like, I think you were the first person who said, I'm loud. Like I am loud, and I've been told my whole life, like, stop, like things like that. But that was like my core strength. Like, nope, when I like see something, I'm gonna speak up about it and I'm gonna talk to you about these things. So if you haven't, find yourself a personality test that, or think about the positive side of the thing you've been beating up yourself your whole life for, because nobody needs to live with that guilt and shame anymore. Turn it around. All right. So for today, I'm gonna first pull up the calendar. Were people able to open the Excel calendar that I sent to you? Okay. I will resend this to you for the adjustment, but I also will just post a link to open it. I've tried 5 million things to try to get like it to integrate in Canvas in a graphic, and it just goes anytime I try to put it there. And when I try to like do little screenshots, it like doesn't get the whole calendar. So I'll put it up there, but the format is still the same. Here's what happened. Yesterday, I went to a webinar about legislative updates for the human growth development bills. How many people have heard about those going on? So there's been some legislative updates regarding needing to show a fetal development video, and because it's required, it is mainly thought of in terms of health class, and this probably will be where most schools show it. But as FCS teachers, we often cover pregnancy and the fetal development period. I show that I'm sharing my screen and I'm show that I'm talking, but I don't see myself. So can somebody like verbally give me we can see your screen?
We can see your screen. It's the schedule.
Okay, yes. So Formative was going to be here with next week with, and this is the weeks where we double up and we do 2 content areas just so that we finish everything before this fall break. So that your work after the fall break is really just working on that final instructional plan. But when I went to this webinar, I was very becoming aware of like, I, as an FCS teacher was like, oh no, what can I do? What can I do? And I figure if I feel that way, more like you all will probably feel that. You probably feel more anxious about that too. And as I reflected on that, I realized there was also some other aspects to like Perkins and the new requirements. And I figured it would just be a nice time to spend on like, hey, let me update you on like what has changed in legislation and what is and isn't, like, how do you observe all the things that you are mandated that you must do? So I moved up Formative here. And like I said, it didn't have to change anything that you have to do to prepare for this class. Long term, this is the new points configuration. Okay, second thing. Oh, here we go. Did it change my screen to, are you still on the Excel file or do you see my Canvas slides?
We see your Excel file.
Okay, then I have to stop share. Let me share. The funny thing that's happening for me is I'm trying to keep it all on this screen, but every time I share my screen, my Zoom pops over here. So if you're seeing me struggling, that's why. It's like it pops my Zoom over here and I'm like, oh, where'd you go? Just trying to stay on one screen. So here. So this is that adjusted points when we do it for okay, I really don't know what's going on if it's not presenting. Okay, so there still is going to be generally 7 of everything except for this class right here, because we're cutting one of, I decided because people rightfully said that, you know, first Wednesday, second day Wednesday is confusing. I decided to call whenever I focused on teaching you kicking off a pedagogical focus, I called that class. And when we had people here, experts talking about their content area, I called that expert session. Can you give me a thumbs up if that makes sense, if that differentiation of those two things makes sense? Yeah, okay. And so I am gonna, okay, this is where I can use 2 screens. So anything that's a class and an expert session is going to be 10 points for being here, being present. If you need to make up, people have been really good about contacting me. So that's really there. Reflect is always going to apply that like focus to yourself, your practice, and there are going to be 6 of those based around these things. Then the expert sessions, there's 7 of those. The dip your toe, there's going to be 7 because it's exploring it before you dive deeper, there's 7. And the instructional plan concept, there's 7 as well. And then you're going to take one of those. If you saw on the calendar, technically I have it going to the Wednesday after fall break. That's up to you if you want to go that long, or you can wrap it up before fall break, take a nice Thanksgiving break, and then just focus the 2 weeks when you're back on developing that instructional plan. I really just wanted to respect your time. I wanted to respect working teachers, truly. That is kind of like hard times through the week of Thanksgiving and right after. But I hopefully that gives us a lot of time so you can develop your concept really nicely. It is advanced. Oh my gosh, sorry. Well, I apologize. I used Canva because I thought it would be more fun and interactive, but I've been having lag with Canva and Zoom this whole time. Okay. So in this section called the role of the CTE instructor, there are 4 parts. There's instructional planning, there's formative assessment, and then there is safety and classroom management, which for FCS teachers, that kind of go hand in hand. Like a lot of our classroom management is literally making sure that the lab space, the classroom is safe and secure. So one thing to keep in mind is the textbook that we are using was written for you, but it also was written for people who come directly from the industry. So if some of these things like feel like a review for you, that is okay, that makes sense. If it's not a review for you, that's also okay too. If you have anything you relate to, speak up. If you have any questions, speak up. But a lot of people use the Madeline Hunter's model, and Madeline Hunter was somebody who developed the lesson plan template a long time in the 70s, 80s, and it's structure for what we use today. On the top, you can see the 9 parts of her lesson plan, and on the bottom is kind of what some other things that it's connected to or what it's called in our lesson plan. So usually each template has a general info. This might be your title, your class, the age it's for, your name, what you're calling it. For us, that's all in that header info. Thumbs up if I like know where on my lesson plan that is, like even on the instructional plan concept. Okay. Madeline Hook also recommended that you always have an anticipatory set. Some other people, I was taught to call this the hook. Somebody, can you share out for me what is distinct about an anticipatory set or hook rather than just starting class? I know you gotta be brave. Someone's gotta unmute.
I thought I was unmuted.
No, it's okay. Oh, thanks.
Normally it's like my bell ringers or how I pull my
Yes.
class in at the beginning and get them interested in what we're going to talk about for the day.
Yeah. So a key thing that you said there is it gets them interested. A lot of times, I mean, it's easy to say this is what we're going to learn today, but the hook to get them interested is the really key part. So does anyone have a good one that like they were in a class one day and somebody did it really well, and or like this is one for those of you who are practicing teachers that it worked out really well, that it captured all your students' attention?
So I think back to foods one, when I start talking about eggs and the many uses of eggs.
Yeah.
And so my hook always for that, one of the days is we're gonna have an exciting day today. And you know, some of them boo, but at least they're paying attention.
Now I'm gonna send you the best dad of the year coffee mug. Like that is excellent dad fun.
Yeah, exactly.
One of my favorite hooks used to be, and you can look it up, it's called the TED Talks, but it's like Julia Sweeney has the talk, and it's talking about how she's talking to her 8-year-old child who has had just a lesson on the reproductive system. It is 7 minutes of pure delight. If you haven't seen it, you have to watch it. But like that was always a really funny way, because honestly, that day when you're going to talk about sex ed, that is the most uncomfortable, weird thing in the world. Like you're talking with teenagers, they're like weird. So it was a great way to break the ice and just make fun for that day. Madeline also described you needed a purpose in our lesson plan, that is, or what else might it be called in your building? Things like that. These are we call them objectives, student learning targets, student outcomes. Breaking them down more for my students, that is where you get the KUDs. The KUDs are really just like trying to take that objective and breaking it down to the lowest level knowledge, the middle level knowledge, and the highest level knowledge. Then there is input and modeling. We, on our lesson plan, this might be your methodology, how I'm going to do it. For us, it's under procedures, and there's 3 things under procedures in our instructional plan. The check for understanding is a formative assessment to kind of verbally check, see how students are doing. It's why I'm like, okay, so somebody give me an example of this or that. That's the checking for understanding. And then Madeline always had a guided practice and an independent practice. And I agree generally, like it shouldn't always be just independent, nor should it always be teacher demo. But guided practice might be you taking them through the procedures. It might be you demoing in a classroom. It might be an I do and we do. So when we talk about like budgeting scenarios, like here, I'm going to calculate the budget first. Now I'm going to hand it all and we will all do the same one together. Now let's check your answers. And then you independently are going to do this one on your own. And that's always a really nice gradual release models. Guided practice and independent practice, they always are 2 important parts of learning a concept. They might not always happen on the same day though. And you might need to repeat them over time. I don't have a very specific place for those separate things on our lesson plan format. I just kind of expect that like, that's something to keep in mind under procedures when you're writing procedures. Do I have like a place where I guide them and then a place where they practice it on their own? I think one of the big things to be aware of when you're planning a lesson is a lot of times like people will say something like, oh, I'll show them how to do this, or they will practice this. And without explicitly saying how they're going to do that, I have some veteran teachers here giving nods, like, you know what I'm saying here, right? Like, you're like, oh yeah, I'll show them how to do that. And then you get in and without the appropriate like practice and scaffolding, students don't really know what they're doing and are going to practice on. Andrea, do you have a story or you just have a good expression? Okay. And then Then there is a closure at the end of the time. Mine, again, this is under procedures, but really that's a way to wrap up the day, maybe explain what we're going on to tomorrow. And student assessment. And student assessment can either be formative or summative. Formative if they're self-assessing to understand where they're at, or if you're assessing to see where each individual student is at. But there's also summative assessment if you're going to formulate a grade based off of it. Are there any questions about Madeline Hunter lesson plan parts? No. Okay, cool. The textbook talks about box curriculum. A lot of CTE places have box curriculum. FCS is one of those that doesn't necessarily have as much as other ones. How many people have heard of Project Lead the Way? That is a box curriculum that's pretty well developed for industrial tech. Has anyone ever heard of CASE? And that's the Center for Agriculture Sciences Education. That is also like, they have a very well curriculum built out for ag. FCS is one of the ones that we've kind of been doing our own for a long time. There are two though that are available to you. One is Texas Tech, and right here, I also put this in the, I'm almost afraid to click out of my PowerPoint presentation at this point, but if you haven't, the state of Iowa, the Iowa Department of Ed has written a grant for you to have access to this. Every year it kind of is, we're not sure that they're going to write it again, but it's still here for this year. So if you haven't, this is a good place to sign up. Margie, I haven't checked if it has middle school ones this year because one of the things, they reduced the number of lesson plans, but it has in the past, and or I've occasionally just gone looking for the lessons that I am looking for, and I found it in the middle school one. Does that make sense? You just sign up and you get your access pretty soon. Iowa State students, this is also here for you. Anna says they're more middle school than high school. To be honest, I kind of tend to think of the same. They're either like upper middle school or low high school. So sometimes you do have to enhance them. But what I do like about it is if you are starting new and you don't have a lot of content, it is always nice to have some pre-box curriculum and then enhance it in the classes you want to, rather than to be working up everything from scratch. The other one that I want to make you aware of, it doesn't have, Lauren, are you still working for Pile?
I am still working for
Okay,
Pile,
Lauren, tell us about
yes.
Pile and tell us what modules, tell us about the great things about Pile and what you can have as a teacher and what you can get from them and how.
Yeah, so
Anna.
Pile has 6 different modules out right now. So it's 6 different lessons that are 45 minutes each, and you can either request to have the facilitator guide and like all of the slides, all of that to do it yourself. Or you can schedule a free visit and you'll have outreach educators come to you in Iowa anywhere for free, and they will present any of the curriculum, or it might be me, who knows. And yeah, and we also have online versions as well. So if you're more like wanting a self-paced version, students like those, we have new modules, so I have to remember all of them. But it's cost of raising a child, healthy relationships, resiliency, career readiness, digital health, and mental health.
Wow.
Are the 6 that we have right now.
I'm gonna tell your supervisor, like, good job for being put on the spot. But yeah,
The spiel is down, yeah.
So Pile, and I still am getting used to what the new acronym is, but it used to stand for Parenting It's a Life. It was born out of some grant work for child welfare research and training. I'm not sure if I got those words in the right order, but basically what we learned, where they started putting their money to is like, let's make people all aware of the responsibilities of parenthood. So like neither parent is if there's a child conceived, both parents take equal responsibility. But Pile has really expanded beyond just being about parenting, and I think it was one of those misconceptions that that it only was about parenting. And so I do like their new name. They have changed it, Preparing Individuals for Adulthood and Life. But the beauty thing is, if you're in Iowa, anywhere in Iowa, like truly 3 hours out, they will come out and visit you. So you can get them to present, and they do have ways to do for, they've modified their lessons for class periods, whether it's 45 or 90 minutes. And it's just really neat. And they employ some of my students sometimes, so they get to practice. They employ more than just my students, but it was always a really nice. You also can get the curriculum itself for free. So you can either have it facilitated, or, you know, if their day doesn't work out and you have their facilitation guides, you can use that as well. Did I change to, you see the teacher collaboration? Okay. One of the best ways to prepare for teaching is through collaboration with other teachers. The best model and way that I know how of this, and what I've heard most commonly used in Iowa, is called professional learning communities, or PLCs. This was kind of a movement started by Richard and Rebecca Dufour. You can learn a lot more about it. Like, you're just dipping the toe in the iceberg right now. But really the whole focus of having a PLC is to have a focus on ensuring that students learn, the culture of collaboration, and focus on the results. Some good points about a PLC that I've found out is, well, number one, I do always think that 1 + 1 is more than 2. One human plus another human bouncing off each other is exponential. The other thing that I've found is, a lot of times, and this really clicked for me, it was called response for innovation at the time, but like, how do we know if students don't know it? Well, then you'd have to go back to reteaching the student. And somebody said to me once, like, I'm gonna assume that you gave it your best shot the first time around. So in the second time around reteaching, you might need the perspective of somebody else to help you reach the student, because we all have different learning styles. We all have different facilitation styles. So a PLC starts with really the same 4 questions. And hopefully, if you've been with me for any amount of time, you will see these questions repeated over and over. How do we know what we want students to know and be able to do? How will they know if they learned it? How will we respond if students don't learn? And how do we extend learning for students that if they've already proficient in the area? And the last one is really a new one, but it's really, what do we want students to know? How do we know whether they know it? What will they do if they don't get it? PLCs are a lot of times inside your building. How many working teachers right now have a PLC? Who's on the team?
Just me.
Just you on, that's not, okay, then you have to go back, because not just you can be on a PLC. Does anyone have a PLC that is not just them?
So
I'm on
like,
a,
go ahead.
mine is CTE teachers in my school.
Yes, so that's one of the things that, and that's what my picture was like representing. A lot of times we're the singletons. And so sometimes you are probably on a heterogeneous group, meaning mixed things. And in that case, you have to find a way to collaborate, even though you're not talking and working on the same thing. And I'll talk about that a little bit with assessment, because I do have a model for that.
So one thing that our PLC group does, because we're a CTE group as well, is we collaborate to teach those like employability skills and those soft skills. And each week, so we gave like a pre-test to kind of see where they were low at, or what skills we needed to hit really hard. And then we prepare lessons. We look at that data, and then we prepare the lessons. And each Friday, we call them Future Fridays now, we teach those lessons, and we get together. So it's like big groups.
Andrea, that's a really, really good one.
We have guest speakers come in. We use our business partners, then have them come in and that kind of stuff. So
no, that's awesome. And then honestly, I can see the implications for your advisor group and things like that. Anyone else on a mixed heterogeneous PLC? Does anyone else have any wins or success?
So our school actually just went to the conference in Minneapolis this summer. And yeah, I did. It was awesome. But anyway, so we are just getting started. Like, our elementary went last year. Now our 7th through 12th building went this year. And yeah, we're very, very green at all of this. Our
That's okay.
we haven't even met yet, but we're gonna be mixed groups for right now, just to have a lot of new teachers and just to kind of get to know everybody. And yeah, that that way we're not, I guess, because we're a lot of singletons in our school,
Right.
it's a small rural school. So yeah, that's our hope. But I love was it Andrea that shared, the CTE and how you guys, do that.
Focus on things that you do share, and employability skills are one of those big ones. In the Iowa standards, if you need something to base them off, you can look for their 21st century skills or their collective CTE skills, and you can all work off of those. That is a really good idea.
Well, and that's actually what we decided with our whole building, that's what we're going to be working on is the employability skills and the 21st century skills. We just decided this last week. So,
awesome.
And we'll work on that at our PD on Monday with the rest of the staff. So
very timely for you.
Yes, exactly.
My laugh was they used to call us the non-academic wing until we insisted, like, we're academic too. Like, we're not just others over here. So, but cross collaboration can lead to you just have to look for the way to do it. But another way, you can also create PLCs. These are more optional, but we actually did some movement in our building to say, like, hey, can we take the time and work on this? But you can do a PLC at a distance by Zoom or something like that, like the way we're doing here. Like in some ways, this is a small professional learning community too, because we are also sharing our ideas and things. So Steph, when you originally said you're a singleton, like I would speak up, like how many people have had like a district wide, like bring all the FCS teachers together?
We do that.
Okay. And do you find that helpful? Or when do you find that the most helpful? What is the things that you do when it's helpful?
I would not say that it is helpful. Just because, mostly because like nobody else really teaches the same things that I do. So even though they're an FCS teacher, the FCS is a huge range. It's a huge range of things. So
absolutely.
Different buildings have different facilities. So even collaborating on lesson plans, like we're just, it's just kind of the nuts and bolts kinds of things. So yeah.
It's a couple years back. It's more than a couple now, but I'm going to pretend it's a couple of years back. But I had the same situation where I was everything at Waukee except for the kitchen. So we had more culinary classes than everything else, and all the other FCS teachers were employed in that. And I was the only one teaching areas like sewing, things like that. And one summer I just invited, like, hey, do you want to collaborate with me? And I just hosted in my room one time, and we actually formed like standards for standards-based grading for the whole thing. And that was really valuable to me. So I know that was on my off time, but it might be a tip for you for like, how do you get the things you need? Because you're right, when you're the only one. I was fortunate enough in Waukee to not have be the only FCS teacher, but in ways I was a singleton because I was the only FCS teacher who taught the things that I taught. So if that makes sense.
I think also, like next week we have our RPP meeting and our advisory meeting with our AEA. And I think that's a good time. Like last year when we were working on our program of study, it was a good, like lots of people shared out lots of different ideas. And I think that's a good time to see.
And I just wish we had more of those. And AEAs all function differently. So I'm glad for those that are still bringing people together. I do wish we had more time because like you do usually work on your program study most of the time, but even that is good. I'm still very proud of Priscilla right now for getting that knocked out today. Everyone cheer for Priscilla. Andrea just went like, what?
Yeah, when I heard that earlier, I'm like, how in the world did she do that in a day? I can't even tell you how many hours.
Yeah, but you were set. I was gonna say you were set at it when you had no, like you were just thrown into it, Andrea, right? You hadn't even.
Yeah, there was no like nobody had done it before, and so nothing.
Well, I'm glad that we're making gains as a whole. And I'm glad that I feel really bad because every time I'm actually looking at you, it looks like I'm looking off screen, but that's where I actually see your faces. So understand the interpersonal communication is all broken down here. The other thing that is really helpful or important, is integrating your CTSO in with your FCS classes. In Iowa, our CTSO is FCCLA. So some people have asked, like, how about Educators Rising? Because that is also a CTSO dedicated to education and things like that. And yes, it is. However, when the Department of Ed decided the things that it was going to correlate to and what you got your Perkins for, they decided that the one option for FCS was FCCLA. For better or for worse, you can champion if you want Ed Rising to be part of that. I will say though that my biggest complaint that I've ever heard of FCCLA is that it is expensive. Educators Rising is even more expensive than FCCLA because it is like a $10,000 curriculum just to put in place. Ways to make your CTSO work for good. One of those things is intracurricular, not extracurricular. And so if you can integrate any of the STAR events, the Power of One or Pure Ed projects into your classroom, that is a way to make it work for you and not be doing all your things extra to that. And if anyone wants to make their pedagogical focus of this concept doing one of those things, you are welcome to. That is a perfectly fine, acceptable thing for this unit. If you're not familiar with FCCLA or you're getting started, I do want to make you aware there are 3 leadership rallies. It's not the same as the state conference, but it is a good way to go and get to know FCCLA, maybe find one of those mentors in your area. And they're hosting 3 around the state. There's one in October 1st in Cedar Rapids, one October 8th in Fort Dodge, and one October 22nd in Sioux City. And it's hoped that by going those places around the state, there's going to be one closer to you. If you need any more information from me on how to register or get to go to that, just reach out to me via email. Another thing I want to make you aware of is that they do now have these advisor academies. They are 4 nights. For my traditional students, you would want to do an explore. And if you want to do that, we will register you in our chapter and you get that for free. For my non-traditional students, you can be part of Engage if you have registered a chapter. It's free for you as the advisor. For my students, like studying to be FCS teachers, if you do this explore and you attend 3 out of the 4 sessions, you get free registration, conference registration at the National FCCLI. So that's what I'd strongly recommend it for you. For those of you who are not, you get recognition at FCCLA. I know it's not quite fair, but it is something. And they are working. They are 4 nights there via Zoom. So it is, and 4 nights spread out through the year. So, okay.
Hey, Laura, I have a question about FCCLA, and I don't know if the answer to this or not, but going along like SCED codes, I'm a part of the Iowa FCS educators Facebook group.
Yeah.
And I saw that there was some lady who had a bunch of her kids drop out and she didn't have a class, and Sherry Vogel hopped on and she's well, she's trying to come up with other class ideas, and I saw that she had put, hey, you could do an FCCLA leadership class. Is that a thing? Can we do that?
Yes. That is, wow, Haley, you just connected to a lot of things that I'm trying to it's hard. Things are woven together for me, but they're not necessarily woven together for you. So I love questions like that. Yes. I can share the whole list of SCED codes, but under that particular one, there's SCED codes related to family and consumer sciences exploratory or independent study. And you could put it as either. The differential would be if you're using it all for the same things, you'd probably do that family and consumer science exploratory. But if you're using it as time that students could work on individual projects, you'd code it as the SCED code of family and consumer sciences independent study, because even though you're working with more than one student, they're kind of all exploring their own thing. And
yeah, I just when I saw that, I was oh my God, this year, I just had my first FCCLA meeting yesterday and I have 40 girls that want to join. And I'm I don't know how we're all going to get together to figure all this out, but I saw Sherry posted, I'm if I can get that, because they're all younger, I'm we could all figure out how to be together next year for a class. So I just didn't know if it's true or not.
Wow, number one, that's amazing that you have 40.
I know. I can't believe it. We were packed in my room yesterday. I'm like,
That's so
this
cool.
is gonna be a lot, but
Well, and
it's good.
I would say, so other things I've just noticed going around, sometimes you can't get them all together. Boone has a really good example, but they try to just make really fun activities where everyone wants to join. So one of the things that Boone does is I think they like host an Anna and Elsa, like sort of like come decorate cookies, gingerbread houses, things like that for the community. And even though they're maybe not, the students are not all there for that weekly meeting, it's a big enough event. It was also a fundraiser for them that they come together and you still stay in touch that way. It's difficult, but once you get the excitement going, that's really where it does work. Anna, what's your question?
So for that class with the SCED code for it to like be an actual like class, would you have to be the FCCLA advisor for your district to run that class?
Technically, no, because
Okay.
there's no checks in there to say, are you the FCCLA advisor?
Yeah, I don't want to get too deep
Yeah.
into Waterloo. I don't want to get too deep into Waterloo politics, but like for reasons, our FCCLA advisor is at a specific location that is not my.
Oh, okay, I
So-
totally understand. Yes.
Yeah, so but I would love to do that class.
Yeah.
So that is helpful information. Thank you.
Other places that people have done it is through their so some people have successfully championed, and this works actually a little bit better in small schools than large school districts, but people have championed that, like, everyone has a homeroom. Can my homeroom just be the elected people who want to be part of FCCLA? Or if people have a response to intervention time, and really you just have to figure out like what's going to work for you in your school district, and the answer is always going to be different. But if the more you talk to people via that like larger PLC community, the more that's when you will find the solution that works for you. So
Well, if I can make it, like if I can connect it to a CTSO, then I will have a much better chance of, anything else. So,
and this is where I was an FCS teacher too. I struggled with having an FCCLA too. I really, really do. And when I heard it was mandated, I did not make that choice. I will say that the intent of it, and we're starting to get steam here, is the intent of it was, if it's required, that administrators couldn't bar you from doing that thing with your class. Now, think of this in the terms of ag and FFA. If ag takes their FFA kids somewhere or does something with their FFA chapter, nobody questions that. But none of the rest of us had that kind of, that same understanding. So that was the purpose of legislating it. And I do see it. I do think it's working more towards there. It's kind of like that thing with the cell phones where I was like, oh, that's got to be difficult for teachers to do. But once people were here, they're like, well, no, if it's a school-wide thing, it actually is a benefit. So any other like wins with your FCCLA making it intercurricular, not extracurricular?
I have just another thing, and again, I'm just curious.
No,
So
Haley, first of all, everyone, no apologies. And this is what this real class is about, because I've just become aware that for better or for worse, I get to be the touchstone for a lot of people. Never feel bad about asking your individual question, your individual circumstance, because please, I'm here.
Okay, well, so at the end of last year, when we went to put in like our draft for a budget for Perkins money, it's just me and then the industrial tech teacher at my school, and we were sitting together trying to figure out like what our priorities were and whatnot. And we put that like our priorities for our Perkins money wanted to go to taking out, for one, our classes to site visits with our work-based learning coordinator, and then going to and doing stuff for FCCLA and then his Skills USA. Well, our principal came back after this meeting and said that we were only allowed to take 4 trips for FCCLA and the rest of our classes, and I have 5 different classes I teach. So what do you suggest I do about that?
That is interesting. And I assume that's like a building internal thing, not an external thing.
Well, it was very weird because the previous year, my first year you're doing FCS, like when we had that meeting, it was like all the CTE teachers met together in our consortium and talked about our budgets and all that. And then last year we didn't get invited. It was just the principals that went. And apparently the principals all came to that conclusion that, hey, we only want 4 trips to be paid for by
Oh.
Perkins. And I'm like, and that included FCCLA and all of that. And I'm
Okay.
like, so I just didn't know what do I do about that? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, so that I might have to explore and work with you more one-on-one, which I feel like you were aware. You're like, this is very niche. And then I was like, no,
Yeah.
ask any question. So I get it. That is not a mandated thing. So understanding the individual wheels and levers that work in your district is probably going to help you solve that. So
Okay.
I will say there's no external thing on Perkins and how you use it that manages your things at 4. So I would be
Okay, that's what
interested to know what the principals all came to when they all decided 4.
Yeah, that's on my list to ask. We go have our RPP meeting on Friday. So I'm gonna
Hey,
ask what happened at
go be a
that.
hawk.
Yeah, exactly. I told you.
Yeah. Um. Oh, that. So technology and AI, I was going to discuss a couple things. I have not. So I found 2 things in my own personal use that have helped me with assessment, and they're not profound. So I will say that, and then I will invite for those of you who found more of them to share. My 2 that I found is Magic School AI. And the reason being you can upload standards, you can upload a reading, and you can get it to make different questions. And then my other one really is just ChatGPT and Frame It Your Right. So one of the big challenges for me is now that AI exists, how do you design things that are AI not to be answered by AI? So a lot of times I have to push on those personal connections, that reflection, apply it to yourself. And in that case, it really still for me is just ChatGPT. I have used other AI tools, but I haven't necessarily found I don't know if I'm not using them right or using the prompt right, but sometimes it says, I'm making this for you. And then it continues and continues and never makes anything for me. So I'm going to put it out there. Teachers, students, what do you use for AI tools for assessment? Oh, Anna, share. How do you do it?
So it is something, so Google has different tiers of subscriptions for districts. So it would depend on your district's tier. But those of you that are Google districts, if you use Google Classroom, if you see on the left-hand side the tab for Gemini, then it means that your school has that subscription. It is very, very good. I will say that it is not as intuitive as ChatGPT is, and part of the reason for that is that the Google Gemini for Education is not used for training purposes. So when I say it's not as intuitive, that means that it's just going to ask you a lot of questions. Like, for example, I asked it to generate some warm-ups related to safety and sanitation for my foods classes.
Okay.
And it asked me 6 follow-up questions before it spat out a list of warm-up questions.
Oh, okay.
Whereas ChatGPT would just automatically spit them out. Yeah. That said, the warm-up question or the clarifying questions it asked me were very good clarifying questions. The product that I ended up getting from it, I did not have to make a lot of tweaks to.
That's nice.
Also Google Gemini integration, especially in Google Classroom, it can just create a lot of things. It can do a lot of things for you.
And that's what I was wondering about, because that is one thing. So with Iowa State's thing, I don't have any Google Classrooms or things like that, but I saw the potential for a lot of integrations if you have a Google Classroom.
Yeah. And I see a lot of people are talking about Brisk, and Brisk is awesome. I personally love Brisk, but they no longer have their everything free for educators plan. So, and that's new for this year. So, if you like using Brisk, you might have to just start paying more for using Brisk, which is why I say if you're a Google district, and a lot of districts are, if Gemini is included in your subscription, it might
Yeah, I'm not, yeah, I decided not to pay for Brisk. I already kind of pay for so many things on my own, but we each make our decisions there, right? So,
Right.
and if your district is a Google district and the Google Gemini is included, it is a very good program. It is worth using. And again, I can't say how much I love that the data is not used for training of the AI.
Yes.
I think that's very important. It
Well,
also
and it's very
sandbox for students, so
that is
students can use that stuff.
yeah. So that is a big thing, understanding what AI accesses what and gives what. One of the limitations was within my Iowa State email, like you don't want to let AI access anything that is a FERPA violation. And so there's a lot of AI that doesn't interact with accounts that I have for that reason, and that's a very good reason. So that the fact that yours has working out that Gemini works with it is a really, really useful, nice thing. Side note because I do want Wendy and Priscilla, I want you to share what you do with bricks, but I found it today because I just paid for it. If you are a K through 12 educator, Canva Pro accounts are now free for you. So go get signed up for that. But Priscilla and Wendy, tell us about Brisk and what you use it for.
I just started looking through it and using it. There's a bunch of teachers that recommended it to me, so I haven't really messed with it too much.
It doesn't just have to be Priscilla or Wendy who uses Brisk, and what do you use it for?
Yeah, I use it for so many things. It can take a YouTube video and use a transcript to make questions about it, or a guided sheet. It can make a presentation for you. It breaks up an article into a presentation, and then I go into my Canva Pro and make it look nice. Brisk doesn't make it look fancy. I spend a lot. It still takes time. I haven't found a one size fits all for something that does everything. I'm like, can't you just take this article and make me a beautiful presentation or put in the right visuals for it? It doesn't do that, but it'll do a Google form assessment, so you can make it does so many things. I use it a lot.
So for my students, what might be nice about a Google form assessment is it can tabulate your student results in a table form. So you can quickly check like a column for misunderstanding. And that's, I mean,
it's great for checking understanding.
Back in the old school days, like I used to grade tests with them all in a row and made little tally marks for how many people missed it. And Google can like automatically do that for you. Anyone else?
Our technology director told us about another AI site that I have not used yet.
I would love to hear.
But it's for generating, literally I'm looking at like the slideshow that he sent out to us at the beginning of the year when he was telling us about these. And it's called DIFFIT, Diffit.
Yeah.
Okay, and his comment or his bullet point was that it generates resources based on topics, themes, or questions. So it could be like kind of a cool tool, I think, if you're wanting students to look up something really specific. It just kind of generates resources that they then have to use to do the research.
No, that's really interesting. I originally got into that because I thought it was going to differentiate so many things for me.
Oh.
Didn't find that much success with it, so I'm glad you brought it up, and I'm going to try it again for those reasons.
Like I said, I haven't tried it yet.
That's right.
I honestly kind of forgot about it, but
it's one of those things that spark. Anna, what's the inquiry worksheets?
When you if you're like on a website and you pull up your little Brisk like little logo thing, so Brisk gives you like that option of things to do, and so you choose create, and then it's one of the things that you can choose to create is an inquiry worksheet, and they are amazing. So you just say I had it. So my kids tomorrow are doing a group presentation project on foodborne pathogens.
Yeah.
And so I just put it into Brisk that I was like, create an inquiry worksheet on these 7 foodborne pathogens. And it generated different sections of here's what you need to research, here's what you need to have in each section. Because I told it needed to be a presentation. It was like, here's what your presentation has to have. Here's the rubric for your presentation.
Nice.
It's amazing. And I've done it with so many different topics. It's actually just super top tier. So if you're ever in a
you know, bind that you gotta come up with sub plans.
Yeah.
Like, I will admit, I have been awake at 4 o'clock in the morning telling Brisk to make me an inquiry worksheet about what I was supposed to do that day because I wasn't making it to work that day. So,
I that's funny.
highly recommend the
Yeah.
inquiry worksheet.
I know what you mean. I was in the ER with like gallbladder and they gave me like Dilaudid, or that's maybe not the right term, but I was like, so like, I'm like, no, I feel fine. I can go to school. Then I don't have to make subplans. So the 4 a.m. thing is real. Turns out you can't. It's only, yeah. How much is the Brisk subscription?
I can tell you that Brisk is not like Brisk will not tell you how much it costs for a school-wide license. Like Brisk, that's what they want. So I don't personally know what a school-wide license would be. I think it probably is going to depend on the size of the district.
Okay.
And I don't remember what it was for an individual one. Sorry.
Our tech guy just he told me for the district it was $8,000.
How big is your district? Can I ask?
We are 3A.
I'm sorry, I don't know what that means. How many people?
I honestly don't know how many we have K-12. We've got like 75, 80 kids per grade.
Oh, okay.
Margie says that the personal plan is 100 per year. So I will take a look at all those. Thank you, everyone. I really, really appreciate you all sharing out your learning. AI is one of those things that's happening so fast that I really, really love to hear how you guys are using it in your classroom. I'm going to start the next section, but here's what we're going to do. The start of the next section actually has us go into breakout rooms and work on case scenarios. So we're going to combo the break and the breakout room. I'm going to give you your assignment. We're going to break you up into rooms, and then you will get in your breakout room and you'll decide, are we taking the break first and then coming back at a certain time? Or are we just going to get through this and we'll come back at the time we're supposed to come back? I'm budgeting 25 minutes for this, the break and the activity. So once you are in your breakout room and you see your scenario, just know that we're going to come back at 6:45, right? Cool. And that is meant to give you a break and time to work on the case scenario. I'm fully okay. Let me get a feel out. Does 25 minutes feel adequate for that, to work on the case scenario and do a break? Okay. So I will put the link to the overall folder in the chat. But your breakout room will match the number of the scenario you're supposed to have. I'm going to stop share because that's the only way I can make my breakout rooms. Okay, before I let you go, what's happening? I just need verbal check back from people.
Okay. How do we see what number we're supposed to be in, or breakout room we're supposed to be in?
You won't until I open them up.
Oh, okay.
But that's a good clarifying question.
Okay, so we get 25 minutes to go into our breakout room and work on the scenario, and that's also a break. So we'll come back at 6:45. Yep. And our scenario number is the room number of our breakout room.
Yeah. And when we come back at 6:45, we're going to go and you guys are going to briefly share what your scenario was and what your classroom management do's, don'ts, suggestion for that scenario would be. Okay. All right, here we go.
Camera doesn't work.
Yeah. Doreen and Anna, I just wanted to let you know. Amy is here to observe me, so she's not actually going to join in your group, but I'm expecting her to leave the breakout room. So
okay. Okay. So yeah, Doreen, sorry.
Hey Laura, this is Amy. I came back to the main room. Can you hear me?
Sorry, what'd you say?
Oh, I was just telling you, I came back. So I think it's just you and me right here right now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Okay. All right. Awesome. Okay. I listened. It was interesting to hear how they were at first they were a little confused. They didn't know what they were supposed to be doing.
Oh, well, thanks.
Well, because they were just like, what are we supposed to do? It's not written anywhere.
Okay, that's good.
But then they said something about the do's and don'ts. And so it sounds like they're having great conversation. I had a question that I was curious about.
Yeah.
So like, it sounds like the two people, did you put people in breakout rooms just 2 and 2 or?
No, it was 3 for the most part.
Okay, gotcha. And then my other question was, just again, because as I'm listening, I'm like, oh, this is interesting. I'm hearing a lot of people who are already teachers.
Yes.
And then is there a mix of people that are not teachers yet that are just like your more campus-based undergrads?
Yes, I only have 3 of them in those in this class.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious because I wonder that
Yeah.
would be really interesting to hear. I wonder how they experience the class versus because
Yeah,
like the other people who are talking about lots of like
this is what I
there's
do.
lots of acronyms and
Yeah.
all of those things. And it sounds like they all kind of know what they're talking about. I was curious. I wonder if the undergrads know.
That's a good question. FCCLA, they know for sure.
Yeah, I would guess that. But even when they were talking about, oh, we use I forget what was the name of the
No, that's
Burke or what was the thing that they said they used?
PLC or
Brisk. They were like,
Oh,
oh, I
Brisk.
use Brisk. And then somebody, yeah, PLC.
Okay.
Wondering if they know. Yeah, I was like,
No,
oh, because at first I was like, wait, what's a PLC? And then I was like, oh, wait, I think I know what that is. So yeah.
Okay. No,
I
thanks.
just thought it was interesting. So that was just a question out of curiosity because
Yeah.
I was like, oh, interesting. I wonder how I was just curious how many students are already teachers versus how many are seeking their initial degree.
Well, and if this makes it out of experimental, it'll be more a mix. Because we have to, what kind of we're in between is your class sizes have to make, but people on the endorsement need this. So we kind of have to have things that more meet both needs.
Yeah. Yeah. That just shows, I mean, I think that, that world of teacher education seems super complex to like, you've got to make sure you've got A, B, and C, but then you need 1, 2, 3, but A, B, and C have to match up with 1, 2, 3.
Right. And I guess like what's weirder and harder about it is nobody else has to really, like there are other colleges that are more niche for if you're adding the endorsement, but we're the only FCS program in the state. So like if we don't offer it, nobody does.
Yeah. So these are the students that are already teachers, they're endorsement seekers?
Yes.
And what endorsement are they seeking?
FCS. They have teacher licensure in another area. So then they get to teach FCS on a conditional license, and then well, depending on if they're conditional or an executive director. An executive director means that I have less than 50% of the 24 credits required to teach FCS. In that case, you get 1 year to get halfway there, 12 credits. And the rest of them have 2 years, but it can be renewed once if you show you're making progress. So generally, we try to get you on a schedule that has you taking 1 class per term, except maybe 2 time, because you're teaching full time in an area you don't know. And that's why I try to really emphasize, like, here are the resources for you. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. What was my other question? I did have another question. I don't remember what it was.
Well, any insights you have for like, I'd love the insights about like, ooh, maybe not everyone knows all your acronyms, but also like online engagement, like having it, I like it that it's online synchronous because I really understand a lot more about what they do and don't understand when it's synchronous. But I feel like I struggle with like getting people to participate.
Yeah, that's what I was like. Are there because I can't see their cameras.
Oh, that was one thing. That's why I wanted you to pop out here. I want to see if I can make you a co-host so that you can. So I can see everyone's camera.
Can not see each other?
They can see each other, I think. That's a good question.
Yeah, because I thought that was really, because at first, to me, it looked like nobody's cameras were on. And I was just like, oh my gosh. Like, if you have to teach with, like, few times I've done Zoom
Yeah.
presentations and nobody's camera is on. That's just like the worst, like
Yeah.
suck the life out of you in the world.
It is.
So so I wrote that note. I'm like, oh my God, poor Laura, no cameras are on. I'm like, this sucks.
No.
But
So
then I
most-
realized, I was like, wait a second. I think people's cameras are on. I just can't see them.
So
So
I tried to make you co-host, so hopefully you can see people's cameras. But yeah,
oh, someone
everyone
came
except
back.
I'd say about 2 people, and most of those people let me know that they
That they can't. Yeah. Well, and that's I always think different. Like, but when I have to teach and nobody does, that's really
like it is talking to yourself. Anna, are you pop back out here for your break, or do you need me to put you back in the room? You're fine either way.
My audio was off that whole time I was just talking. I'm so sorry. No, we interpreted it as leave the room when we go on break and come back to the main room. So that was all I'm doing.
Okay, that's fine. You're fine.
I will go back to observing, Laura. And I don't, does your class go till when?
8.
8. Okay. So
Yeah.
I'll see.
Do you want me to put you in another breakout room?
No, that's okay. I think it's good. So yeah, and I might not, I might just like log off in a little
I was
bit.
gonna
So
say it's okay if you don't.
yeah, because then if I do again, I mean, I think that's really 5 to 8. That's like 2 classes. So
It is.
yeah, there's no expectation for like.
But I do want to, before we have a chance, I do really want like to connect with, I think your idea for just telling them what it is the best one. Like, what is the legislation? And I'd like to connect with you if possible before that. Will be 2 weeks from now that I do that.
Okay.
But it did make me realize there was other things like in other legislation that they have to be aware of. CTE is just this funny place, or FCS specifically is this funny place where you become the intersection of a lot of things that people don't necessarily put together. So I still figure it was a good to focus on that for the next time. But I'd love to get together with you and see how you present that.
Okay, sounds
I
good.
agree with all the things you said on the chat. Like maybe it's time to just
For sure. Alrighty.
Thanks. All right, welcome back, everyone. I was talking to someone briefly there for a minute, and I thought they were choosing not to answer, but I wasn't actually talking to anyone because I was muted. So, it's all right. My small talk is probably not that great anyway. So whoever that was, be thankful you were spared. I would like your group to briefly share out what their scenario was and then what you noticed about classroom safety, what tips you might have for that scenario. And because I am a V and always had to be at the end of the line, we're going to start with group 5 and work our way backwards. So is there anyone from group, okay, hands up if you wrote on the document or if you just discussed. So did anyone write on the document? Okay.
I took notes.
Okay. Do you want to be able, who in group 5, I don't know if people can share their screens or not. I'm great if they do. Otherwise, I can share my screen and go to the various ones. How about this? Group 5, do you want to share your screen?
I can try. Yeah, I have it pulled up.
Okay. So just like, again, what I want you to do is share your scenario briefly for us and then share the advice or the do's or don'ts you had for managing that from either a safety or classroom management.
It says I have to have it.
It says you have to have permission.
Yeah.
All right, then maybe I will share my screen. Okay. So group 5, tell us briefly about yours.
So ours was about a teacher basically who kind of just didn't leave time for certain things during the food lab. The kids were leaving stuff on the countertops. They were dropping knives into soapy dishes so that you wouldn't be able to see them. There were trash overflowing in different places. It was just kind of a mess in the kitchen. So we kind of talked about
this is a totally foreign scenario for FCS teachers, right? Like this would never happen.
Yeah. So we kind of talked about maybe pre-teaching expectations.
Okay.
That would probably be something good, and even modeling what we expect them to do.
Yep.
We talked about assigning the students jobs prior to the lab so that they know coming in what is expected of them.
Yeah.
And what group they'll be in. Something
yeah, sorry, continue.
Oh, I was just gonna say something I've done in my kitchen for organizing, because it said something about the utensils. People didn't know whose utensils were missing or where the missing utensils belonged. Yeah. My kitchens are color coordinated, and I used electrical tape on all of the utensils, and so everybody knows what.
Yeah.
I guess utensil goes where if it gets lost.
Yet if it's not electrical tape, I will add on to that like oil pastel Sharpies. Like, not that they will never rub off, but those are a pretty good sticking paint for a lot of things. But yes.
And I talked about this. My group members didn't do it. But this year, something that I did was my kids got ServSafe certified in safety and sanitation right from the start. So that kind of laid the groundwork, and all of the things that were in our scenario kind of met along, like not knowing what it was expected of them in the kitchen. So maybe getting them ServSafe certified, or even just walking through that course with them.
Or even just the procedures if you're not going to officially get them certified. Who has roles in their lab kitchens, and would anybody willing to share out what those roles are?
Are you talking just from that group or
or just anyone in general is great?
So I have roles, but without pulling up the sheet, I can't really so like I have a manager that has a bunch of like jobs to do, a sous chef that has jobs to do, a busser, and each thing, like there's a checklist underneath what they have to do. There's 5, sometimes 6 jobs, and then so that's like their lab planning sheet, and they go through that the day before the lab, at least the day before the lab, and they go through the recipe, they read that, and then they assign, like they figure out who's going to do everything, like who, like
or their mise en place.
Yeah,
Nice.
yes, exactly. And
Love
then,
it.
but without measuring and all that stuff before. Yeah, it is.
So for those not familiar, a mise en place is a sheet that you fill out before lab that really like takes you through. So you get the recipe, but it's almost like you think through the recipe in advance. And it's a way to be prepared. It comes from the French word for everything at its place. And so you kind of diagram, you go through the recipe and you like, do I need to preheat the oven? What utensils do I need? What measurements do I need? And how am I going to arrange my things before combining them together? So I love that, the lab rules. Has it helped at all for these things?
So I don't have a culinary class this semester,
Okay.
but in the past, it has. Now my intros, we did go over kitchen procedures and everything early because I'm trying to like do things different this year and like instead of just having one unit of cooking, doing a little bit of cooking throughout.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
And yeah, so Friday
Cooking is
I'm
such
like,
a hook for kids. Like we can't just like,
yes,
yeah.
that's what I thought because that's what they're doing. Like they have to
Right.
take intro first before they can take the other classes. And so
Yeah,
I was
I
trying
love that.
to do that early. Now Friday afternoon, after cooking, and we went over measuring and everything on Wednesday. We went over measuring and everything on Thursday. We talked about how to do dishes. We did all of this stuff. That's why I was chuckling earlier when you were like talking about like, did I have a story? Friday, I could have like drank myself silly Friday afternoon because it was like they knew how to do all this stuff until it was time to do it.
Right.
And
And it
they
was
didn't know how to
Friday.
do anything. So I could have been this scenario, like one of these
Yeah.
scenarios.
Yeah.
Like it was just anyway.
That's why I it was really unbelievable scenario. But yeah, no, I agree with all these things. The role, the color coding. We at Waukee had so many people that even if you color coded, a kitchen had the dirty dishes. So we would kind of photograph it, hold it against it. And we kind of pay it forward so that we at the end of the day took that dirty dishes from another group. Or we just had one spare set on hand and we held it over for a group. But yeah, we were such that we had labs back to back to back. So if the stuff wasn't clean, somebody had to clean it before next lab. But
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Sorry, I do the same thing, but I will call students back
Ooh.
from their other classes. And I've actually, teachers are like, absolutely. And I tell them, I'm like, oh, if you leave your kitchen dirty, I will absolutely hunt you down in your next class and you will come back and clean it because it is not somebody else's responsibility.
Wow.
And then they're also counted tardies. So that also is a little added like consequence that they have.
I love it.
But that's after I've already checked their kitchen. That's after like, but if they like sneak out, like, oh no, I'll hunt you down.
No, and really, if that works with your school culture and community, I think that's a great solution because I bet you only get called back once.
Oh yeah, and usually they're all like, "You didn't do this." They rat each other out instantly.
Yeah.
In our kitchens, if we have somebody, if they find something that's dirty, they leave it on they write a sticky note and leave it and give it to me, and then they clean it. I mean, if it's something they have to use, then they clean it. But then,
That's clever.
Then I take into account that was left dirty or whatever, and points then are deducted from lab.
Yeah, no, that's very clever. I didn't think of the sticky note because obviously I've cleaned the actual thing, but the sticky note is nice. The one thing I want to add to roles, I love roles, but make sure your students transition roles because there inevitably will be a kid who picks the cleanup role all the time, every day, and then just never actually makes anything, but they get this grade for, being the dishwasher. So, all right, thanks so much. Group number 4. Tell us about our scenario here. Ooh, it's alligator. Who is the alligator? No, that's not the same.
It was us.
Is it Andrea the alligator? Because that would be really funny if you're.
No, Andrea wasn't in our group.
Yeah, I picked alligator, but I wasn't in this group.
I saw alligator and I instantly, it correlated only in my mind. So continue on, Steph's group.
Okay, so this is a housing and interior design class, and they are building a model house with all of these tools, and there's a lot of a lot of tools just kind of scattered around the classroom. There is specifically a knife that has a broken handle. And eventually it breaks because the student is pressing down really hard because it also is a dull knife. And it barely misses the student's hand. And the tool falls on the floor. The teacher's not watching because they are helping another student at a computer and is slow to notice what's happening when another student picks up the broken knife and the remains from the floor. So there's no checkout system in place, and there's students playing with the yardsticks, you know, tapping each other while laughing. There's they have no idea like where the first aid kit is or anything like that. And so there's a lot going on there. So
what did you guys notice that could maybe change or improve?
Yes, yes. So we just said like a checkout system needs to be in place for all the tools, and just organization, like having the tools each in their own spot in the classroom when they're going to do a project like this. The teacher needs to inspect the tools before he or she gets them out or starting this semester as well. And then again, before the students use them, need to go through some expectations when using tools like this. And when tools are out, and just kind of, you know, ask for their understanding. So you go through all these expectations, but do they understand? I mean, this is very important. And if we can't use them properly, then we're not going to be able to use them, and we're not going to be able to do this fun project. And the students also need to know where the first aid kit is. There's just so many moving parts. Expectations need to be very clear to the students.
And this was probably more my typical, because like I said to everyone, I handled mostly not the culinary arts lab. But a lot of my projects, there used to be some things that everyone needed at their station, and those would exist in the sewing machine, and I'd kind of have to check off for those. And we periodically check off for them, but like a utility knife, thing like that, that would be in every once in a while. And so just even having a static place where that is, like, it was easier for me to keep all the rotary mat in one places and keep all those utility knives or the X-Acto knives together. But also being very intentional about those things that you will notice if you don't do instruction with them, you will see kids cross-cutting all the time. Or with rotary cutters, they will try to saw, and that is the worst thing possible for rotary cutting. You always have to push away from you in the same direction. So just being very explicit about those procedures, and then already covering the procedures of what if this breaks, or how do I change this? And then lastly, like having your first aid in an FCS classroom, have your first aid kit prominently somewhere, everywhere. I don't know who was mentioning about a sub, but yeah, like inevitably it'd be the day that you'd have a sub that some accident happened. So having just big old, like, this is where the first aid kit, here is some flashing arrows towards it. Maybe not that much call out, but yeah, people should know where to find it easily and hopefully. All right, group 3. Anteater. Missy, I love your annotations.
So with this scenario, we have some food science going on. We have somebody boiling water and sugar and it overflows. We have
that's never happened to any FCS teacher.
Total chaos going on. One kid slips and falls. The rest of them all like, it's chaos. Teacher sitting at her desk grading papers, can't get to the first aid kit or the fire extinguisher because it is stacked, boxes are stacked up in front of it. So yes, I can't read it. I guess it's too small, but we just talked about that. Do not wait to clean up the mess. It should be done immediately, and it should not be, you shouldn't have to wait for the custodians to do it for you. What else do we have there? Lab safety contract is needed to set expectations. Do not wander into other lab stations, like stay in your own. No intermingling. Pre-teach how to react if an injury or some type of mess occurs. And then I can't see anymore. Do I
Okay.
have it?
I
Hold on a
assume,
second.
so I assume this will be common knowledge for all my practicing teachers, but for my pre-service teachers, lab days are not ever the days you can grade. Sorry, they just aren't. You have to be there circulating around. It also really helps to have clearly defined lab areas. We were lucky in that, so in our more residential kitchen, they were a U-shaped kitchen, so it was very easy to be like, you're out of your space. But in our more like industrial style kitchen, sometimes you might even just have to use painter's tape on the floor to designate areas of like, this is your area until this is done. And then the last thing is like, I don't know, sugar and water and heat is the worst residual boil over thing ever. And it will happen. It'll happen on your stovetop. It'll happen inside your oven. I came to really appreciate flat top like ceramic burners for that reason, because they're a lot more easy to turn over and scrape and clean than the coil type. But another tip that I have here is there are oven liners, and we used to line all of the bottom of our oven for that inevitable boil over. We also had an extra set of oven racks so that if something happened, you could trade out the oven racks. That was only possible because we have the same model oven in all kitchens, so that might be a thing of luxury. I do understand that, but even using parchment paper is a really good investment for just recycling those sheets over and over. I mean, like I even begin to use them in my own home because I love to just like take it off and be like, okay, now this is clean. So
Here's I'm gonna pre-teach that though, because I've had a couple students. We this was in my first year of teaching.
Yeah.
We use parchment paper.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize, because it's been a while since I was a middle schooler. My students were really nervous to open the oven doors all the way to put the pans in level. And so they would open it like 6 inches and then like hold the sheet down. And so we had a couple times it all slid off. And so I was like, shut the door. So we got it shut. So there was no actual fire going. But we now practice putting cold cookie sheets into an oven with bouncy balls on top of them, wearing oven mitts. So literally like they have to open the door. It's all cold. I like teach it heavily. And I'm like, no, you open the door all the way with your oven mitt. You have to put the pan in, you take it out. Like we step by step it. But we have yet to have fires since we've started doing that. So
well, and there is something for that. The first
call it a win.
This is so silly, but one of the first airplane like really bad casualties when planes were invented happened because the engines failed on the runway. They never even took off, but less than 1 out of 10 people got out of the airplane because they were there for 10 minutes, but they didn't realize like I should get up and exit the airplane. And then the other engines caught on fire and the plane exploded. And the tragedy really was that nobody knew what to do in that moment. So that rehearsal is brilliant. And I'm so glad you brought it up. I never even thought about that, but that is brilliant.
Also, I had not either until there were fires.
Also, my daughter has read, she has a storybook written by America's Test Kitchen about Misty, the oven mitt, who is afraid of hot ovens. And I definitely need to send you that title because I feel like that's spot on for that. All right, great. Number 2. Oh, yes. Also, yeah, some of these I didn't I was like, the teacher's sitting at her desk, what? But I didn't correct these on purpose. I was like, okay, we're just gonna go with the scenarios as crazy as they are.
Okay, aren't we too? Okay, so we talked about ours was sewing. Some of the things that we talked about. First one was there was mention of phones with music. So we thought get rid of the phones, which isn't a problem right now because in the state of Iowa, we don't need them or we can't use them. But then going over all of the rules and expectations again, even though it says they were in the middle of a project, it sounds like there was a lot of chaos. So it just seemed like everything was unorganized. And so going back over expectations, safety rules. What else did I miss here? Shoes, making sure that shoes are on. So I mean, that would be included for safety, making sure that they keep their shoes on at all times. I mean, I know that even when we went in for our class that we couldn't even wear open-toed shoes. We had to wear closed-toed shoes when we were doing the sewing at school for when we had class last summer when I was there.
Yeah, and that is that's honestly beyond me. That's the
Right. Yep.
the place, but yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't have that requirement at the high school level, and I don't know that I could, but that was something we actually had at the in the culinary arts room, and we kept a spare set of like Crocs in a bunch of sizes for that reason. So
yeah. I require it for my middle school as much as I can. I mean, there are times that kids do forget. And usually those are the times that I make them kind of take another job to where it doesn't keep them where they would drop something on their foot or, something. I mean, I try to find something else for them to do that day. But yeah, I usually try to do that. But no, those were the things that we kind of came up with, I think. Did I miss anything, girls?
Nope, I think.
Didn't we kind of also talk about organization because there was scraps kind of scattered all over? And Margie, you said that you have a system and routine in your classroom.
Oh, sorry, I'm doing dishes. Yeah, I have right now I have 27 in one class, 27.
Wow, sewing? Wow.
Yes. Yep, 27. We're doing hand sewing, and I have 27 in one, 25 in the other. We switch every 6 weeks, so I have about that many kids, and every 6 weeks we start over. And so I have 8 tables in my classroom, so there's about 4 kids to a table. Every table has a tub that has a sewing kit in it, and then they all have their own containers with their names that I just write in permanent marker, and then I use a dry erase marker when we're done. We just erase it, and then the next group gets it, and that's where they keep their project. And so nothing gets like moved. They pretty much have everything that they need at their tables, so they don't get up and wander.
I'm gonna make that explicit for other people if you didn't catch that. If you write with permanent marker on plastic, but then you go over and scribble over the thing with dry erase marker, it actually will take the permanent marker off most of the
It's
time.
amazing.
It stays there in place. Some of the things the only thing that I can even add to this is that I got really fastidious about teaching my kids how to thread the machine right up front because I got sick of trying to thread them myself or take them through that. So I had block period, and one day we spent on thread races. And so I used to have a matching bobbin and thread at each machine, and there was one extra machine for students. So as soon as you threaded the machine and you sewed a line on an index card, you got up, you unthreaded the machine, and you walked to the open machine. And you had to collect a whole index card full of sewn lines. I still go back and forth because I still feel like in some ways I wasted a whole day on that, but the amount of time for the rest of the semester that I did not have to thread the machine was brilliant. And it even worked when I had 2 styles of machine, so that kids could go back and forth. That being said, I taught at the high school. At the middle school, my colleagues decided it is not worth it to teach them how to thread the machine. And they used to keep their own machines threaded with just white for everyone. You have to make that call in your room. I do understand how at a middle school level, if you're not ever gonna, if the only time you sew is at a middle school level and you don't hit a sewing machine again for years, maybe it doesn't make sense for you to thread the machine. But at mine, it was a lifesaver.
Yeah, see, and at our high school, we don't have sewing right now.
Yeah.
And so I'm just trying to do hand sewing.
Yeah.
And my thought is that for enrichment, we do have sewing machines. And so for enrichment, my goal is to eventually use that win time or RTI time, whatever you want to call it, to let those kids who are interested to come in and do that, do that stuff.
That's not an uncommon experience. Sewing machines, equipment, things like that are the most expensive per small interest area, if that makes sense. Culinary is an expensive thing to bring too, but you get a lot of students interested in that. So more and more districts you see getting rid of those. I love that idea for making that an enhancement. The thing I would encourage you is to look for what YouTube videos are out there regarding threading the machines, and then just build QR codes that students can. Well, now you can't because they don't have cell phones, but maybe if you had a device.
Well, our kids are 1-to-1. I mean, they all have their computers at school.
But maybe having small, I used to, when things were common, I used to just I honestly, I took the time to video myself doing the steps, and I would demo it once for the kids in advance, but then I'd break it down on my blog and I would have, this is the step and here's how, so that they could watch me doing it. And that investment of time was really useful for me.
Yeah, I think we have 4 different kinds of machines. And so I'm just little by little, I just actually bought 3 brand new ones. So we'll see what happens.
And then I really will not neglect, this is the place where you see if your community has volunteers. They don't want to be stereotypical,
right?
But little old grandmas who know how to sew,
yes,
they are the champions of the world. They will come in and be an extra coach, an extra set of hands. And if you can find someone, it doesn't have to be a grandma. I'm just saying I've had my experience of like people who are retired who are willing to come in because they just love doing this stuff, and they were my lifesavers. They're my champions. So
yeah, we have a local little teeny tiny store that I don't know, it's like Keep You Sewing or something, or I think you can, I don't know what it's called, but yeah, she loves to do stuff like that. So yeah, that's one of the things that it's on my list, but we got to get through hand sewing first.
oh yeah, no. And truly hand sewing is fine. It's a good skill.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about whether I believe sewing is a life skill or not when we get onto that content area. I have having my own background in that. I have my own.
It is a life skill. They have to learn how to do some of those things.
Baby. Well, we'll hit a debate. All right, group 1.
So our scenario was another scenario of not setting expectations in advance. So it's a cooking class. They're making a stir fry. Groups are doing all kinds of wacky things. Cross-contamination, long sleeves over hot walks, wrong knives. The place is a mess with backpacks everywhere. One of the things that we talked about in our group was just kind of like the wide variety of ways that kitchen labs can be set up.
Yeah.
So mine is the industrial style kitchen. So there was a lot about this scenario that I'm not saying that it couldn't happen in my kitchen, but was like very unlikely to happen just because of the way that my kitchen is set up.
Setting the environment to not make it available is a totally acceptable classroom management.
Well, it's not even necessary. Well, so like I have a classroom and then I have my kitchen lab. So like all the backpacks and stuff.
Yeah.
That's not a problem because they're not allowed to take
dropped off here.
But the person that I was working with, Doreen, like hers is all in one room. So then like she does have to set that expectation in her room that like,
yeah,
this is where stuff goes. And it was another one where the teacher is like caught up with talking with somebody. One of the biggest ones that we picked out and talked about was we're talking about how the student was using the wrong type of knife to cut the chicken. And it says in here that the student chose a serrated bread knife instead of the chef's knives. And so this one, we're just kind of both taken aback by the student chose the knife.
How do you handle and keep your knives? Make that explicit for people.
Yeah, so like mine are all locked up. I have a tool. It's actually like a tool cart from Menards with a bunch of different drawers in it. So when students need knives, it's locked. They have to come to me, and then I ask them, what type of knife do you need? And then I check it out to them. So maybe this is a scenario where they have knife blocks at each, but I would find that, I don't know, I guess I would find that surprising if knives are just that readily available to students.
But again, like people might be walking into labs that they haven't.
Exactly, yeah.
So breaking this down and talking through. If you do have mic blocks available in your kitchen, this might be a time to gather them all together to you in the front. Magnetic strips, like even just being behind the teacher's desk in an area that you have to notice them crossing a threshold to go get can help that. But I
will say, like my tool cart, like that was a Perkins purchase because it's a safety thing. So if you have, you know, and it's been a lifesaver. It's really nice. Mine even has outlets. It's super cool. It's great. So yeah.
And the other reason that is not only for safety, but if you, the sharpest, the safest knife is a sharp knife.
Yeah.
But the knives that can say sharpest are really high quality, expensive ones. So it's not only a safety thing, it's you having a high quality piece of equipment that you therefore
Yeah.
keep. Like we don't ever, if you have a high quality knife, you never want to send it through a dishwasher because that will
Mhm.
dull it over time. You want to keep it and you want to hand wash it. And so those things.
Yeah. It definitely seemed like it just, I don't know, it just definitely seemed like the teacher did not go through expectations with students super well ahead of time. Yeah, it just seemed really chaotic. Doreen, I don't know if you have anything you want to add.
No, I think you nailed it. It was, yep. Just really setting clear expectations and having our lab contracts and yeah. Yep.
And like with closed-toed shoes, I think that like we're not having a dress code, but we clearly make sure like the silhouette beyond this is not going to be safe for you in this kitchen. In our culinary pro start ones, we had chef coats for all kids. That was not able to happen in the more basic food 1 through 2, but we had aprons. And then like really we did have a, like if you're in slip off shoes and if you can't cook today if that's what you're wearing. It wasn't necessarily a punishment. Like I hear people punishing for no homework that you can't cook. That becomes a really like hard cycle to break out of because then kids they're not cooking, so then they're not doing their homework. And I would discourage people from doing that, but if it was a safety issue, that was a reason. And so things like that. Thanks everyone. So I'm going to briefly just go back to my presentation, but I think a lot of what I was talking about, everyone hit in what we were talking about. And that was the purpose of the case studies, that you'd hit a lot of the ideas so that we could talk through them. There are studies showing that, so we are dealing with dangerous items, sharp items and things all the time. And I fortunately have never, and this is what I'm hoping I die with, I've never had a kid so over their hand in all my years of experience. I'm still going for that. But there's been a study, and these are the reasons that a CTE teacher, when was found at liability, these were the most common reasons. So it's things like not being in the classroom or stepping out of the classroom while students are working, or allowing students to work in the laboratory with somebody who doesn't realize this and or understand the safety risks, asking a student to run an errand unsupervised, not enough care in regards to the age, maturity, or mental ability of students, lack of documentation and record keeping, big one is lack of proper safety instruction, and then relaxing like the enforcement of rules. Like maybe you might have had instruction, but then you like let it lapse over time, with the safety, health, and with the safeguards. Failure to inspect the tools, machines, and equipment. So I really appreciated the group that brought up that, like, look at your knives before they're out, sharpen the blades. I always used to take the time at the end of each season to replace like disposable blades, things like that. And then just lack of care with proper maintenance of tools and equipment. And again, these are when CTE teachers were found liable. So that's what I want to make you aware of. There are basically 3 E's to safe classroom management, and that is engineering. So designing the safest environment process. I heard that with somebody with saying like, well, their coats and bags, they stay in this other room, but for someone else, like it was in the same room. We used to have IKEA cubbies that they could put, like it took a lot of vertical space, but it was able to hold each student thing like that. It's things like, if you need to, having finger guards on your sewing machine, etc., things like that. Education is teaching the safe practices and procedures to students from day one, and making sure those procedures and safety things are followed. A side note on this that I thought of with the sewing machine lab people brought up is one thing I learned to do right early on. Like they learned how to thread the machine, but anyone who's taught a sewing machine lab, have you heard when it starts to jam up? I used to be very loud when I would hear that and be like, oh, like, and not embarrassing, but like, this is the sound you are listening for. If you hear this, this is not a good sound. You stop, you rethread the machine. And then the enforcement, like start with day one, but you can't let up, because if you let up over time, students really learn that like I can get away with it this time, and then this is when the time it's gonna slip. Regarding classroom management on a wider scale, here are some of the things that I found really work well. We talked about setting expectations and procedures from day one. When the situation though is, so this one really is for the safety and things like that. These other ones regarding like when it's not as much of a safety thing, like a child development or other classes like this. These are things that I found. Honestly, my best advice on classroom management came from teaching early childhood ed over and over a lot of times. And I realized those techniques work perfectly fine with like teenagers and adult children, as long as you don't baby them. So when teaching early childhood ed, there's this thing called reverse attention. And it's when you don't pay attention to the kid that's misbehaving and you praise the kid that is behaving. Because at the younger age, they're really, really motivated by that attention. It doesn't work as well with the older set because they're more motivated by peer attention than teacher attention. But at the same time, you will get caught up if you're always noticing a kid for bad behavior and always on them, sometimes you just have to let it go and you have to focus on when you find the positive. A big part in my classroom management is diagnosing why. Why is this thing happening? So it could be something internally with the student, or it could be related to they don't feel motivated, they don't understand why they're in their class. And so hitting this ground point of why am I here? What can I buy into? That's a big piece. The natural and logical consequences. Natural can only be employed if they're safe to everyone else, but logical being things like, okay, we've had these safety procedures, you didn't observe them, I'm sorry you can't cook today, things like that. A big piece, and I think every working teacher here can relate to this, getting to know your students is the big part. I used to like doing personality tests at the beginning of the year just because it felt like I could really understand a good buy-in for students. So I used colors or different personality tests, and I always made sure like this doesn't put you in a box, but it does help me understand some things and how we relate to another. Another one is you. There's two sides to this. One is, has anyone been around one of those teachers who's so strict that the kids are almost like, I'm going to show you, and they get in a fight about it? That's one. But on the other hand, and this was the one that I was usually on, and I had to be aware of myself. Sometimes I was trying to be so friendly and open that I wouldn't set my expectations high enough. So being in the middle of those things. And then the last thing, working particularly with adolescents, is defuse and de-escalate. The worst days of my life was when I got in a power battle with a teenager because they have less to lose than I do. So just be aware that when you're going up head to head to a teenager, they have their dignity in front of their peers on the line, things like that. And sometimes you just have to find a way to be like, okay, we're going to put this to the side and we're going to deal with it later. Especially if the behavior is not necessarily dangerous or in that way to other students. Does anyone have anything to add to this or questions about? Okay, our last piece is formative assessment. My teachers out there, or anyone, what's the difference between formative and summative?
Summative is like a grading, like a test or
Amanda,
like,
is that you?
yeah.
Yes, you were right on. And for everyone, Amanda's the one of us who is not focused on being a classroom teacher. So keep going because you have it spot on. I keep trying to convince her, but she has other ambitions in life. It's cool.
And then formative would be like, what am I, like an exit ticket or entrance ticket or discussions or something like that, right?
So the biggest purpose of formative is to understand what students are understanding, and not just understanding, but their feelings. So I did a formative assessment asking you, what do you feel about this instructional plan? Oh, key tip there. I took all your comments and I threw them into ChatGPT. I didn't hook my ChatGPT up to Canvas, but I copied them and it helped me develop the assessment. So I don't know if anyone's played around with that, but it really was helpful for me developing the rubric and assessment for that instructional plan concept. So thank you to everyone for your thoughts there. But the whole idea of formative is that you will know what students know and don't know before going into the summative. You'll address those gaps, and then you'll be able to test them. And it goes round and round. 10 characteristics. Formative is ongoing. Formative is embedded in the teaching. It's very feedback driven. It is centered on the students and what they can do to improve. It's low stakes, so not having it graded or for that many points. It's adaptable because you can adjust based on what you get back from it. It's collaborative. Like, one of the big hallmarks of formative assessment in the secondary classroom is it's not just on the teacher. It should be the students of themselves and with one another. Formative is very flexible. It can change in the moment. Like, it could have been an exit ticket, but we don't have time to write 3 sentences down. So you're just going to share you're going to say something to me as you walk out the door about what you learned today. The reason formative is so important is without formative, you really, the gaps between your students become wider and wider, and you don't see them until that summative piece. And the formative really is focused around, like, this is the goal that I want you to get to. A big hallmark, and I think is really good in the FCS classroom, is that we can have a lot of authentic instructional work. AIW was a framework that, and I won't go into it that much, but for those of you who have those heterogeneous like PLCs where you all teach different things, and I know some of you said it was CTE teachers, but it could be for some people it's CTE, music, art, all the other teachers. If you need a framework, the authentic instructional work, it's a book that's only like a quarter to a third of an inch thick, but it really develops this framework where you can look at other people's work and still give them thoughts and feedback on how to improve it without you understanding their content area. Authentic assessments are really just about, like, what is the best way to determine that you can do this? And that's why it's particularly good for FCS and CTE. The best way, this is kind of ironic, but what do you have to do to get a license or a driver's permit?
Take the test.
You take a written test. What do you have to get to a driver's license?
You have to drive.
Yes. Many people do that in driver's ed because those people are signed off to do it. But if you don't, you have to go to the DMV and you have to drive. That's how you get. So it's and we have to think about how can we get most authentic the thing. And many things that's available to do, but like in things like childcare, sometimes you have to reflect, is like taking care of a baby route the most authentic, and understanding the assessment for what it is. Authentic assessment always encourages higher order thinking. It asks them to apply the knowledge they've learned. And a lot of the time, authentic assessment really involves rubrics because it breaks down what you want to see and what you want to know. How many people are familiar with Bloom's? This is a 3D of Bloom's. What I like about this and what you're working on in this lesson plan is, and I made this whole PowerPoint presentation is available to you via link on today's class date. It's not just that you're supposed to like take notes on it, remember. I like this particular thing of Bloom's because it has verbs that helps you understand what kind of assessment you're going to have. For example, if you are doing something that you want students to apply a conceptual understanding, they need to provide. So what would be a way that you could test provide? We work off that advice to novices. I'm realizing my office chair stinks if I'm going to be here for 3 hours. I need to get anyway.
So is this meant to be read as sort of like a like an intersecting thing? Like if we're testing conceptual understanding, then they should classify something.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for basically, like, you're going over like what kind of levels from low to high here, but what kind of knowledge you want them to know. Do you want them to know facts, concepts, procedures, or do you want them to think about thinking? And so then you do the intersection. So if you want them to analyze something that is factual, you will have them select what I like about this is it really gives you a more precise verb. I don't know about you, but whenever I'm writing objectives, my mind just wants to default to students will understand or students will know. And that is not a testable, that's not a testable verb. If anyone, it's probably not good for my younger set, but if anyone remembers the show Heroes, there used to be like a villain who like pried people's brain open and like read them and got their skills. That's the only way you could really understand understanding is if you open up somebody's hand like sardines, and we can't do that. We shouldn't do that. So having these verbs really helped me formulate my assessment better. I've referenced this before, but especially working with secondary students, we want to get beyond just instructor feedback to self-assessment and peer assessment. Those things are so important because if we don't get them there at the teenage level, they go on to college and they don't really know how to learn themselves. Not how to learn. They don't really understand how to formulate their learning or know what to do when they don't understand something. How many people have experienced like students with that cognitive, like, I showed up for class and I don't know why I don't understand. That's kind of that lack of metacognitive understanding. Some guidelines for feedback, not just for yourself, but if you're having students give each other feedback, is telling them to be clear, focus on task, not the perfect person. Jane does a really nice thing of her feedback starts with I notice and I wonder. And so those things are not judgmental so much. If feedback could be in the moment, that is really the best, but sometimes we have to do it on the after the things. Mixed modality says to not always give your feedback in the same way. So you might want some to verbal, written, recorded, etc. Because then if it comes in different formats, students will pay attention. And the last thing is to close the loop. Closing the loop means that you get verbal confirmation that students have, not verbal, you get confirmation that the students have seen, understood, and know how to apply your feedback. When you're engaging in self-assessment and peer assessment, you might need to give your students guided questions for giving that feedback. Here are some prompts to start you with, like, if you want students to give feedback to one another, here are some prompts. And what I like a lot about a lot of these is that they don't make people defensive, because a lot of times when we get feedback, I feel like we're being criticized, and that really is not the point of feedback. Look at it more like you are being a coach and encourage your students to see that. Okay, so looking forward. Everyone do a stand up, shake it out, because we're closing in. I know that I'm not done grading everything, so I still need to do that. But I have, like, I've looked over assignments in each piece, and I'd like to give feedback for general things, if that is okay. Thumbs up. I know, 7:30. So we have the same assignments time and time again. Class, you're here. I really appreciate, guys, I really appreciate you being here and joining in, and when I ask for, like, chiming in, because I know 3 hours is a long time. Teaching online is hard for me too. I wish I could see you all in person, but I know that you're at distance, things like that. So please continue to give me the feedback, especially those of you who are distant learner, of what best works for you, because this is only going to become a more important thing for FCS teachers and CTE teachers in general. So I want to make this work, because I'm so thankful for you picking up this endorsement and keeping the places open that you do. So class, I have no complaints, and if I do have complaints, I'll approach you individually. But regarding the 4 different types of assignments, reflect. The ones that are capital title reflect, that is the reading. Oh, speaking of, if anyone needs the reading because I moved it up a week, just email me. I have a scanned in section. I will just shoot you the PDF back right away. So from the textbook on reflect, what I want to emphasize there is reflect it on your teaching, or your experience as a student. Don't hit so much of, like, I've captured this concept. Tell me the details of, like, well, one time there was this kid and blah, blah. don't give me student names, but everything beyond that, just hit the, I would rather have an anecdotal story than a technically correct answer. Does that make sense? It doesn't have to be FCS related, because I know some of you came with previous teaching endorsements. It can be in anything. Just really give me a real life example rather than like, this is what the definition that the textbook says. That's the only thing I want you to reflect it. Dip your toe in. For this week, I do not have, so dip your toe in is when I give you prompts and you shoot me a sentence back and you have to do 3 of those. I do not have all our guest speakers lined up yet for next week, but I do have 5 prompts in there. So you still just need to do 3, like even if you, I will add in as I get more guest speakers. So whenever you start the discussion, but if anyone is gung-ho right now to start that tonight, there are at least 5 prompts in there, so you can respond to 3 of them. There is not any required ones for this week. What I found is the consumer resource management people that I'm bringing, they're not necessarily researchers, so I don't really have journal articles. So I'm kind of more giving you like theoretical questions, just respond 3 times. It doesn't have to be, none of them are required. Again, it just needs to be a sentence or 2. Just make sure, like for some of them, I'm like, throw out an idea, give me a source to go with it. You don't have to, you do not have to have read, watched, or listened to the source. It just needs to be like, if I wanted to learn more about this, I think this would be a good way to do it. I have plenty of podcasts that I've saved on a list that I have not listened to yet. That's all I mean for it to be. Dive deeper. So I'm going to try something this week with Dive Deeper. I'm going to try to be more open-ended because I'm becoming aware that I cannot necessarily find a journal article and a documentary for every topic I propose. So this week, I'm just going to ask you to dive deeper with good sources on your own. We're going to see how it goes, and I will reassess based on how you feel. In general, you're just, the dive deeper, I want you to spend like 1 to 3 hours in the learning and then reflect on that. And again, you do not have to start dive deeper until our next Wednesday class. That's further on. I'm just trying to cover the next 2 weeks of what I've seen. Does that make sense? You do not have 4 things to do before we see each other next. You have 2 things. You have to reflect on the reflection questions and you dip your toe in. Reflect and create, go later. My last one is for create. I have had multiple people shoot me things and be like, tell me what you think. Like, am I on the right track? And I love that. I love it. I love it. I love it. Everyone in this class is so, I see your passion for doing well. I have not been able to respond to all of those. Like, even if you give me like days in advance of this class, I have another class going on. I have student teaching, things like that. If you get to the due date and I haven't had a chance, just turn it in, because I have built it in that we have time at the end that you can revise anything based on my comments, things like that, and we will look at it again. The score that you get doesn't have to be the score that it is for forever. I have time built in at the after fall break, but at any time you can just set up time with me. Like, you're like, I made these revisions, I want to go down, I want to go over them with you. I will open up that assignment in real time and I will go over it and I will do those point back. So I just really want everyone to be low stakes. The score you get with me the first time doesn't necessarily have to be the score that it is. I really view myself as a coach. And I would love if you take my feedback and, make some improvements based on it. All right, great. Somebody tell me something about what was good about tonight, and we're only going to sign off. Anna clapped. What was Anna clapping about?
Students get to college and they don't have much reflective abilities, and I also teach like an online class.
Yes.
It's not a face-to-face class.
Yeah.
It's entirely like online, and it's rough. It's really rough because like sometimes these kids like genuinely, they will email me about every single question because they don't feel confident in their own abilities to do things. So that was what I was clapping about.
No,
like,
I love it.
Well,
and I'll get on my soapbox here because I still believe that being an FCS teacher is the most important job in the world, and I hope other people feel the same about their jobs. But we get to work with teenagers when they are in identity formation about the very real conscious choice that makes a difference in their life and careers. And so more than anyone else, we can work with students to be like, what kind of life do you want to have? what do you think about your thinking? How do you interrupt these processes and like make different choices? So
Yeah.
clap for you.
They just get so used to just finding the right answer.
Yes. And if it's not findable, it's
if it's not findable, they really, really struggle with that idea. And I think
but that's life.
Exactly. And like in FCS, we have like such a great opportunity. Like when you're making chicken Alfredo, like there's not one way to do that. There's not a single correct way to do that, right? Use your critical thinking skills.
Yeah.
Kinds of things. So yeah, that's what I was clapping for.
I love
Yeah.
And that's a really good one to end the night on. But I also, Wendy, thank you for talking about breakouts. I will try to build some more in future classes because I really want you to have community, even though you're at a distance. So thank you, everyone. Thanks for, I know 3 hours is a long time, especially on Zoom. So everyone have a really nice night, and I'll see you in about a week.
Hey, Laura, I do have some questions for you. It's not from
absolutely. I'll stay on for anyone who has questions.
But so one, well, I'd sent you an email about the 24.
Yes.
Is that going to be
I'd say check with me, like, but I think right now it's set to be, no, it's the 24th is actually, that's the legislative. So join when you're able, but if we're already through things, I'll have a recording.
Perfect. Okay. And then also, I am going to be having a surgery, and it's looking like, it's really good. Yeah, it's a hysterectomy. So
I hopefully for the good reason.
Really, really excited.
It's maybe would be there right now.
Like when I tell people that, they're like, "Oh, congratulations!" So no, it's fine. But we're looking at the week of December 15th, and so Iowa State, it has that week as finals week. So do you think I'll be able to have everything done?
Yes. Okay. So the reality is the only thing you need to do that we're doing a summit about how to interpret FCS in the new career clusters. But I'll be honest, Anna, I'm not even giving you points for it. I'm just asking you to join.
Okay.
I really am. So we have to take this to the whole statewide of FCS teachers. So I'm using you as guinea pigs.
No, that's fine.
If you don't show up, I'm saying this in front of Andrea because like, if you're available, please show up. If you're not, I'm not giving points for it.
Okay.
So,
all right. I just want to make
your uterus free life.
Yeah. So excited. My surgeon, I just love her because I was really nervous about whether or not she was going to say that I could have it, or if she was going to say like, no, we need to try the medical interventions first. But she just walked in the room and she's like, let's put your uterus in a bucket. And I was like, I love you. I love you so much. Thank you. Let's do that.
I used to have a golden rhinestone uterus pin, and I wish I still had it so I could send it to you. But
yeah, so I just wanted to double check because I haven't actually like scheduled it for that week yet. So I was like,
that's okay. If you can get rid of it, girl.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
I mean, I assume if you miss our guinea pig session, you'll get caught on when we're trying to get it to the whole FCS statewide. So
yeah.
The benefits of being our guinea pig group is you don't have to come when we try to get it statewide. But
okay. All right. Well,
the new career clusters are a little bit more difficult to see FCS in, and we're really just hoping to get out ahead of it so that
so we had in our pre-service week, we had someone from the state of Iowa. They were here to help us like with some data stuff and everything. And they said something that you echoed in our first class where we met, which was like, you need to make careers the focus.
Yes.
Like that's very much felt like that's what's coming down the pike. And
that is the focus of this. I mean, we know we teach life skills, but we're all going to have to start talking the language of like, this is where it comes in careers.
Yeah. And it's, it's silly, but it's the hoops that we have to jump through.
I mean, I used to say nobody's going to finance people to just make, like whatever, to have better lives, but now we're funding religion classes. So let's not even go there.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, not to go there, but I'm not certain if this